Welcome to Let's Blame the Planets, a monthly astrology podcast where we use what's happening in the sky as a starting point for conversation, reflection and storytelling. This isn't about predictions or having all the answers. It's about exploring astrology as it shows up in real life and helping you understand astrology for what it really is. My name is Sandra Jungen. I'm a natal astrologer, and together with my co-host Barry Cho, our honorary astrologer, we'll dive deep each month into a topic that feels relevant for the world, or sometimes just for us. We both have a strong Sagittarius streak, so expect curiosity, big questions, and the occasional philosophical detour. All right, welcome everyone. Welcome to this Aries season podcast. We're already in the Aries season, and the first 2 days have already, I think, brought a lot of energy that shows us what the season is going to bring, and not just this season, but the next probably 2 years. And I think this moment is actually such a good reflection of how the collective energy can influence us as individuals as well, especially when we're talking about the outer planets. Because even if you're not consciously feeling it, it's going on in the background of our life. And right now there's still a lack of certainty in the world. Like there's still this almost Pisces hangover. And I think it was really, really telling that as the sun moved into Aries, Mercury had just stationed direct. And remember, Mercury is the messenger, and it's almost like a reminder of don't forget what the last month showed you. So I think that Mercury stationing direct on this sun entering Aries is potent.
Yeah, and also I just want to just looking at the date of the Mercury, because like before this we did like a little meditation, right? And so what really coming to me is the Mercury really want to speak, and then now I'm really looking at the pattern, for example, each date, right? So Mercury is really active this month because it's kind of like we were talking about all the thing in the April, what's going to happen because the massive energy is going on. When I'm looking at it, for example, Mercury going to enter Aries first, right? So after all the retrograde in Pisces, and then bring that message to Saturn, conjunct with Saturn, and then conjunct with Mars, right? So it's basically catching up the speed. And I feel like there's a lot of information we have been contemplating on or dealing with or processing. Now it's kind of, I feel like it's energy of like bring the compassion, like all the things you have learned, maybe through sorrow, maybe through loss, maybe through like uncomfortable conversation that happened in January or February, because there's a lot of things going on over there, right? Maybe not external conversation, maybe just internal conversation as well. And I feel like now is bring that clarity into, for example, conjunct with Saturn is like, how can I make this tangible conversation, make things happen? And then like communicating with Mars as well, right? So, okay, now we talk through it, we make clear the air, that's taking action to actually make it happen, or spreading that passion and what you really value and to the world. I think that's kind of like the Mercury is as a messenger, like I carry all the things from the Pisces seasons and then catching up with all of this. Well, I think that's really interesting when I see the pattern and just like slowly catching up the speed and like each of the personal planet, Saturn and Mars. And also, of course, touching Chiron as well. I'm not sure, but I think that's just what I see in this pattern. I feel like it's carrying the messaging from the Pisces season when we're reviewing, when we re-evaluating. Yeah, so that's something interesting just popped to my mind.
Yeah, because Mercury is the messenger, and you know he's been wreaking havoc in Pisces over the last month. Like things weren't clear, it was really confusing. I felt that in my personal life, like very much so. Like I just couldn't get anything, like nothing was clear.
Yeah, same thing.
Nothing
and it's building 10,000, isn't it?
Yeah. And you know, we saw that in the world as well, you know, how we didn't really know what was going on. I think we're seeing that even more now, like this is kind of, you know, what's real and what isn't real. I mean, that's been a theme for a while, but we're seeing it in the media, we're seeing it, you know, through the war that's going on. Like there's AI images of things that are happening. We don't know what's actually happening. And it's just really interesting. I think, you know, that Mercury stationing, that will influence the rest of the year, because that chart, the moment the sun enters Aries, that is a snapshot of the year, you know. I think we'll be working with that energy for a while. And when a planet stations, its message is amplified. You
Yeah,
know?
yeah, yeah,
So yeah, I think that Mercury and Pisces message is still very strong. And maybe that's why, one of the reasons why this Aries season doesn't feel kind of your typical Aries season. I mean, there is no
yeah, yeah,
typical
yeah,
Aries
yeah,
seasons because
yeah.
there's always other things going on. But this one especially just has that Pisces hangover and that more reflective quality to it, even though we're feeling that push to move forward.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Because I can feel the energies like not like you said, typical Aries, like go, 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 fire, movement, right? So that's why I feel like even for me before, like I was expecting the fire horse, like like really fast movement, but you can feel later on. But right now, like you said today, we are like when we're recording this, we're in the sun enter the equinox. Basically, we're in the equinox energy, and also the Mercury going direct. But like I think we mentioned in the previous episode before when going to the station, which means the speed hasn't picking up just yet. It's kind of like I think today, even when I wake up, like also the Saturn conjunct Aries, Saturn conjunct is that
The Saturn conjunct Sun in Aries,
yeah,
yeah,
Saturn conjunct. Sorry,
it's
Saturn
today.
conjunct Suns. Yeah. So
Yeah,
yeah, so when I wake up, I just feel like that restriction, like feel like things pause. Like even though the energy, even though I have the ideas that I'm gonna do the podcast, I really want to do it, but it's just the restriction. I feel like okay, I really, really feel tired. It's like feel something's kind of like I'm not like fully there just yet, but I do have that passion. The Aries, like I do want to do this.
yeah,
But it's
yeah,
it's the energy manifesting in that way, and also I feel like because Mercury going direct, the stationary energy is like kind of like you are I don't know, this image is showing me is like you're in a box, right? You go through a tunnel, but you're in a station, literally in a station, but now it stopped both ways because you're still getting ready for the next direction for the movement, picking up the
yeah,
speed. So it's feel like you're still in that like a box right now, and everything's still kind of okay, let's clear what is happening before and then we moving forward. Yeah,
yeah.
so I think that's the Mercury. And also there's another thing, like I'm not sure you believe in because I do feel like there's also Mercury retrograde we're talking about a lot. I do feel that there's like a post shadow period as well, like for a
Definitely.
couple of weeks. It's not just like okay, Mercury going direct, everything's moving. You do feel the movement, but it wasn't like so I feel like still having that shadow period is like allowing the Mercury to actually picking up, and also your think because Mercury also govern our thinking, our communication. So I feel like now you're starting to feel more okay, you can think more clearly and like you can communicate more clearly. Because I think I remember last episode we did Mercury in Pisces. And I really looking at it, I was like, okay, actually, I don't know what I'm talking about. It's just like your thinking is not clear, your talking is not clear as well. But that's
Yeah.
right.
Yeah, I mean, we're
Yeah,
going to be in that shadow period till I think Mercury hits 22 degrees, which I don't know the
yeah,
exact dates. But
yeah,
so we're
yeah,
still going to be a couple of weeks in that shadow period, definitely.
yeah,
And I think what adds to that as well is that Sun is the day after the Sun entered Aries, it conjunct Neptune. So that Piscean energy is coming through even more, blurring
yeah,
things,
yeah,
questioning what's real, what's not, what's going
yeah,
on, but
yeah,
also then just a few days later, today, as we're recording this episode, the Sun meets Saturn. So there's that reality check and that restriction and
yeah.
that limitation. And I was, talking
The
to
limitation of violet.
yeah, and really real limitations. Like I was talking to my partner last night. Like I'm feeling this real push and I'm excited and I'm like, there's lots of things happening this month for me, but I am being limited around like real restrictions. We're having these conversations in New Zealand about fuel and rising costs, and those are real physical limitations to our
Yeah, yeah,
movement. That
yeah,
feels very Saturn and Aries, and I'm trying to organize something that's 10 hours away where I have to drive to. And I don't know whether I'm going to be able to drive there, even though that's what I want to do. And there's this frustration, which I think is like, I'm ready to go, but something's slowing me down.
yeah,
There's
yeah,
there's the momentum, but it feels frustrating because you don't know, you're uncertain of whether you're actually going to be able to do it. That's how I
yeah,
feel. And I
yeah,
actually
yeah,
woke up last night and I was like, this is so frustrating. I mean, gosh, we're so lucky here in New Zealand, really, but everyone's feeling it on some level.
yeah, yeah,
And it's like, yeah,
yeah. Yeah, but I think that's kind of like sometimes I think it is good in that way because Aries can go like when we're talking about that later for April, like the Aries Stellium is like when I'm looking at it, like I knew it, but I wasn't really kind of like really until I really looking at the charts, like, oh, what the fuck is happening over there, right? Yeah, so I just feel like sometimes it's good for us to actually preparing it like a little bit like okay, holding you back a little bit so you can actually pause, not going too much, you know.
See,
But yeah,
I
until we
need that
really
Capricorn wisdom right now, Fairy.
sorry.
I need your Capricorn wisdom right now because I am ready to go. I have no Earth in my chart.
Yeah,
Fairy's
yeah.
got lots of Capricorn energy, so
Yeah,
she's
so let's
laying
just slow down
hands.
for a little bit. It's fine.
It's, I need to hear that.
Yeah,
So yes, okay. The message from our Capricorn fairy over here is that it's okay to slow down.
yeah, yeah. Even though sometimes like I have my Sagittarius, like my horse is running really fast as well. But I do feel like yeah, I think now I'm more embodying my Capricorn spirit in a lot of ways. So just like, yes, you can go adventurous. Yes, you can go do whatever you love and like choose seeking, but like you can also do it in a slow pace.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
know, you don't need to do always go fast because when you're reacting too fast and then something not solid and easy to falling apart, and which I learned over the years as well, like when I go things too fast I burn out, and something's not solid, it doesn't feel right for me.
yeah,
And yeah, so then I'm okay with just okay, let's just go back, let's just like this is some frustration, that's fine, but we can do it properly like without rushing into it. Yeah,
yeah. And that is something that I've been telling my clients. Don't
yeah,
overschedule this month
yeah,
because there is such a danger of burnout
yeah,
because
yeah,
it's going to fill up anyway. I think, try and schedule as little as you can, even though there'll be a lot because more
yeah.
is going to happen, you know.
Yes.
So, yeah, I mean, this is a message that we'll come back to, but just like what is realistic. And I think that is this reality check with the Saturn Sun today is like, well, what are your priorities? What's
Yeah.
realistic?
Yeah.
How can you pace yourself? It's a tricky energy. It's a very tricky energy.
Yeah, definitely. Even yesterday, like while I was in the spiritual fair as well, I was feel like that exhaustion, like even
Yeah, the
like I wasn't
Neptune.
doing
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, because you even feel like okay, normally for example, equinox should be supposed to be like a new start, fresh, like we're
Yeah.
going forward, right? But because that Saturn and Sun conjunction, like that exhaustion, you can physically felt in everybody's energy field.
And I
And I
think
was like, I
Neptune
can do.
too. Neptune very much is exhaustion.
Yeah, yeah, and I didn't feel like I didn't do much, and I was like just purely experiencing, observing people's energy, and I was like, oh, okay, this is a lot of happening. Exhaustion, of course, listen to people's stories, and yeah, so just like a very strong manifestation energetically can be felt in that way. But like I said, I don't think it's a bad thing in that way. It's just like sometimes when we looking for the new start, we're so excited about it, and then sometimes you forgot, okay, how much capacity you have for this, right? Like you said, priority. Like, what is your priority now? You only have one person, like this type of energy, and everybody's energy type is different. And how you utilizing your life force for something very important, rather than
Yeah.
okay, you have so many things. Like I think you do Gemini, Sun Gemini, and Sun Sagittarius, pretty much the same. You have so many things you wanted to do, want to explore, wanted to do, but sometimes like, what is the priority?
Yeah.
Like, right? Like, what is the most important thing in this? And like, you worth your energy to moving forward, right? Otherwise, yes, we have so many interests, but doesn't mean you have to applying for every single one, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's interesting too. Like, I think you're right. Like, there's a lot of people that are tired and burnt out already and exhausted. And I also think what I've really learned over the last, and I am very privileged, just putting it out there, because I do have time for my spiritual practice. I do have time to rest. I do have time, and resources to do that. And a lot of people do not. And I noticed, in the last month how that exhaustion, like, there's sometimes just not a realistic sometimes it's just not realistic in
Yeah.
our
Yeah. It's not.
society
Yeah.
with
Yeah.
the structures that we have to rest. And I think, again, we have to look at the bigger picture of what these energies are coming back to. And that Pluto and Aquarius, like, it's harking back to when Pluto was in Capricorn, moving through, all the unrealistic old structures. They're still there and they're not actually allowing us to thrive.
Yeah.
They're
Yeah.
not
Yeah.
people are exhausted, and there's nothing they can really do because they have to work, they have to,
Pay the
you saw
bills.
that
Yeah.
in China, like working ridiculous hours, more than one job, pressures of family, and now money.
Yeah.
We've got a cost of living crisis in New Zealand, we've got fuel going up. It's such a bigger systemic problem.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm really aware of that when we do these podcasts too, because, idealistically, these energies would be lived out and like, don't do too much or rest, but sometimes you just can't. And I think that
Yeah.
does.
Because a lot of people are still surviving.
Yeah,
Yeah. You just
exactly. And I
can't.
think that Aries energy
Yeah.
is survival.
Yeah. Yeah.
Aries is a survival energy at the forefront, because it is the first sign of the zodiac. It's like that is our initiation, it's our
Yeah.
life force, it's our first kind of push into the world, and it's all about survival. So I think that is actually just a message that dropped in right now, that there is this kind of survival instinct in this month as well.
Yes. Yeah. 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 And also another thing just coming through me as well, like when you're talking about Saturn in Aries, right? So I feel like there's also another, yes, we have so many emphasizing Aries energy this month. And like you said, like we are in so many ways privileged having the resources and the time and to rest and to do all of that. But like for people who are surviving, because this is a systematic problem, not us, right? And also, like you said, Pluto in Aquarius now is actually, we are starting to against the system and trying to do dissolving and changing the structures, but that take a long time. It's not going to happen overnight. But also, I feel like the Saturn in Aries is also anchoring our I don't know, the Aries determination of resilience. Because I feel like the most important thing in Aries is like, okay, because Saturn is really endurance, right?
Yeah.
It's really like I endure the hardship so I can build the solid foundation, even though I am surviving in this mode, right? So I feel like it's kind of like anchoring that endurance, that resilience in Aries, because Aries can sometimes just, oh, let's just go like mindfulness, just kind of like mindless go for things, right? And then when you burn out, it's like that because I have to do this, I have to pay the bill, I have to do all this. But when you do it in awareness, you knowing this is for building long-term foundation, you actually most anchored in your reality, not escaping it, not minimizing it, not, you just like finding that like stability within yourself, but still, yeah, sometimes you have to do this, right? And it's not saying this is not going to change, but it really depends on how you do it. Because I think like even like recently I was really reflecting on how the Western spirituality were like promoting is all like fast manifestation, like change this, change that. There's no repair, there's no endurance, there's no resilience, right? No one taught you that. But I think Saturn in Aries, yes, is even though it's like it's in detriment, right? So it's not in its best, but it's actually teaching Aries, okay, you can having like channel your divine will, channel your passion, but also learn how to endure hardship, learn how to be patient, but still can achieving overcoming the obstacles, because Aries having that like warrior energy, right? So I'm go for a battle, but sometimes the battle may be long, right? Because like Aries have a tendency just like I just have a short battle, I argue, I fight, and then it's done, right? Done and over. But Saturn's like sometimes you might need to ready for a long battle, and this long battle maybe for us even as well as a humanity, like the long battle of really dissolving and changing the structure as a system, because now all the illusion and deception has been exposed in the whole world globally in our watch, right? But it takes us to making some effort as individual to contributing to that, because all this happening we also contributing to that too. You have no one else to blame, right? So that's what I'm saying, like it's either you're still living in the past or now you're making a choices and to make a change and to make a difference.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah, very well said. Yeah.
So I think that's
I think Aries is also that part of you that says I'm going to try, and there is this part that it's very courageous, and it's action, it's self leadership, but it's also what can we do? What can we control? Aries Saturn control. what
Yeah.
can we control? And I think it can get very overwhelming with that Neptune Aries of everything that we can't control. But it's really asking us as individuals, what can we control? And I think you said that so beautifully. Saturn is teaching Aries, and maybe Aries is also teaching Saturn.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
doesn't need to be perfect. We just need to
Yeah.
do one thing.
Try.
Take a
Yeah.
step, try
Yeah.
it, do it,
Yeah.
do it.
Yeah.
So there's
Yeah.
this real kind of balance of like,
Mm.
yes, the foundation, and yes, just it doesn't need to be perfect, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
Just take one step and another step and another step and another step, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
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 And
Great.
with Neptune involved as well, you might not see where those steps are leading,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
you
It's
know?
like more spiritual leading kind of
Yeah,
side.
but
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
just like keep doing it. And it can be on a spiritual level, it can be on a real practical level,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like even the last month, I felt like I was swimming in an ocean. And yet,
Yes.
looking back, I still practically achieved stuff. Like, you know, again, very, very like practical things. Like I finally have firewood delivered for winter.
Yeah.
You know, like just things like that,
Yeah.
which took a month to organize, and I thought I'd never be there. And then as soon as the sun moved into Aries, the firewood arrived, you know. So steps, you know, these steps can kind of, they can be very practical.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Shall we go about the April? Like
Yeah,
someday.
sure.
Yeah.
So we've talked about that ingress, the
Yeah.
Saturn Neptune, which we
Yeah.
have got a whole episode on, and we'll put the link in the description below. And I mean, that Saturn Neptune conjunction is still so relevant because as soon as the sun entered Aries, it hit that 0 degrees, which is the degree that Saturn and Neptune conjunct back in February. So again, we're looking at the themes. We're going to be looking and working with this throughout the year. And there's a lot more happening this year as well. So yeah, should we talk about the full moon at, I'll bring up the chart, shall I? So this is the new moon. Full moon. Here we go. Can you see that?
Yeah. I can see that. Yeah.
So at 12 degrees of
Yeah. 12
Aries.
degrees. Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I've got this set to New Zealand time. So
Yeah.
2nd of April.
Yeah.
In some parts of the world it will be on the 1st. But because we are one of the first
Yeah.
countries in New Zealand.
Yeah.
But so there, 12 degrees of Aries, the moon is in Libra. So we're working with this axis of us and them, you know.
Yes. Yeah. I think that's the massive theme I was thinking about as well. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Our needs versus others' needs. You know, independence versus
Yeah.
harmony,
Yeah.
self-expression versus other people's needs. Um, yeah, and then it's square. The biggest aspect here is the square to Jupiter in Cancer.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
So there's this tension with emotional responsibility, I think, as well.
And also, there's another thing about the Pluto sextile. I think is the Saturn, isn't it? Is exactly 5 degree. That's something I
Yeah,
noticed
Pluto
as well.
sextile Saturn. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think that's kind of like the background. Yeah. For me, like when I'm looking at I think I was like, I want to talk about this full moon.
Go.
Because I think I saw, like, first of all, I saw the sun and moon. Normally, the full moon is the opposition, right? The sun and moon in opposition. And so this always because full moon always like letting go or releasing, right? So I feel like because there's a tension between sun and moon, sun is in Aries, which is our individualism, like our only, like you said, me. Libra is all about like moving in Libra is all about partnership. It's all about cooperation. It's about harmony, right? So it's like our need, my need, and our need, like as a collective, as a community, or even, for example, with your partners, right? So we have different like individual needs in different way. But for me, I feel like this is kind of like a point for us to because I feel like this full moon is also because just happening after all this, the equinox, all the energy starting moving. But I feel like this is a final, really, really final, like cleansing and releasing, but also setting up like how we need is more important than how I need. You know what I mean? It's like the from me to us rather than from just about us.
Yeah.
And also, there's like, because Aries is also fiery, really kind of like aggressive in a lot of ways for negative manifestation, but Libra all wanting justice and harmony, right? So I feel like there's like a really focus on how can we changing from maybe conflict in ourselves, conflict with others, conflict with nations, conflict with whatever it is, the conflict in this energy field to harmony, to cooperation, to like, partnership, rather than like working together, rather than working individually with different opinion, but not able to really unite, right? So I feel like that's kind of like when I'm looking at it, I feel like it's yes, causing this tension, but bring awareness to both sides. Yes, our individual need like important, but also the need for the community, for humanity is also really important too. What you are playing a part in this, right? So I feel like it's bring the attention to that. So that's what I'm saying. That, and also, like you said, because like the moon in Libra is also square Jupiter in Cancer. So I think that, like you said, the emotional tension will be really much brought up in front. And also, I think this associated with the kind of like the what's that disagreement between my need and our need, and that will bring up like for example needing some conversation or needing some reconciliation, or like even sacrifice from both end to meet the middle ground, right? So that's why I feel like if this full moon had like really hit your chart really hard, really checking in like, okay, let's listen to the other person as well. Yes, I have my need, acknowledging that, and but also what is the both party, right? Because we cannot just live by ourselves. We live together as a human, as a society, as a social being, and you cannot just ignore how other people like your need or action may affecting other people as well. So we live in that harmony. How to really having that conversation, even though the emotion may be intensified because of Jupiter, because Moon is connecting with that where emotion, and Jupiter is in a very emotional sign. Basically, Moon is ruling Cancer, right? So I think there's like a lot of emotional intensification in that way. So maybe may feel uncomfortable, but I think it's necessary to feel and to understand like what's the balance in between, right? So I think that's one thing. And also the Pluto sextile in Saturn. I don't know, I haven't pinpointed what's the energy playing out here, but I definitely feel like there's something playing out there as well. It's kind of like in the background information, not necessarily affecting in a huge personal level, but it's definitely like there's some structures or even the authority within yourself. I don't know how to describing it. It's like kind of like the darker side of things onto like surfacing, and then you might not feeling it right now, but long term wise, maybe next 2 or 3 years, you will see more clearly what this playing out in this, okay, me and my partner or my community or even just who you are associating with, right? So so I think that's something I want to mentioning here. Yeah. Sorry, you go for it. Do you have any comment on that?
No, I think you've covered it really well. Well, I do, but I think that, so just quickly for our viewers, so if this is hitting your chart, I would probably look at 12 degrees Aries, Cancer, Libra or Capricorn, so give or take 2 or 3 degrees either side. If you've got any placements or angles at the cardinal signs, that's the easiest way to kind of see if this is going to affect you. There's other aspects obviously it could be making as well, but I mean when you were speaking, this isn't hitting my chart directly, but I see it on a collective level, as you were talking. And again, I just think about what's happening right now in New Zealand, how it will have to be, whether there is restrictions around, well, actually we're going to have to restrict our movement for the better, for the collective. We're going to have to use less fuel and not go to places because we're thinking of other people. And I think that has been really lost in our society. It is a very individualistic society, and I mean we're already seeing that with the panic buying. Everyone's getting their fuel filled up, not really caring about then what's going on for other
The
people.
rest, yeah.
Yeah, and I think, I think that also the Jupiter in Cancer square, because there is this real sense of scarcity, and Jupiter in Cancer, I think, can get very protective
Yeah.
of our own home environments and our needs, and but Jupiter there, well, we have to look at it bigger. We have to look at, maybe the needs of our country.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's funny, like I don't want to say this like it's the same as just before COVID, but there's this sense of
The mask.
something bigger is happening. Yeah, the masks. I mean, it was different astrology, but there's this sense of, oh, we're going to actually have to do something not just for our own self, but for everyone's, you know.
Yeah.
Whether people do that or not, who knows?
Yeah. I think just coming a story coming to me like during COVID as well. I noticed like one thing, like most Asian like were wearing masks,
Yeah.
but most people refusing it, which I understand both sides. But it was really interesting to see because I think for us, we're wearing the like mask is for other people. It's not
Yes.
for your own comfort. Basically, that's the only reason because you doesn't want other people getting sick. So
Yeah.
like you will see most Asian people may really willingly, happily to wear the mask because I don't want to like give it to you. And that's what, of course, you also protecting yourself as well. But there's a big reason for that because I think we in general get taught the community first and
Yeah.
then you consider
Yes.
yourself. I think that's basically a really big teaching. Like when, like it's, even before I didn't realize that, but I do realize now. It's like actually we got taught you need to consider the group, you need to
Yes.
consider community first, and then but also sometimes can be over sacrificing your own need and become like have a tendency to okay just ignore your need because you have to do this for the group no matter what, right? So that's not good as well. So I feel like there's balance, right?
There is, and I think the Western world has gone too much to the individualistic,
Yes.
and we could
Yeah.
learn so much from that. I mean, it wasn't until COVID that I realized that that's why Asian people wore masks, was not to give it to other people.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
was like, oh, that's so beautiful. That's so amazing. I didn't
Yeah.
even enter my Western brain. I
Yeah.
always thought it was just to protect themselves. And I was almost like, oh, that's a bit like, do they think they're going to get sick here? Like this is,
No.
yeah, I
Yeah.
know. And I was just like, it's so westernized that we're just thinking about ourselves and ourselves and ourselves. And I definitely,
Yeah.
have that too. So,
Yeah.
yeah. And I mean, again,
Yeah.
bigger picture,
Yeah.
there is a
And
real
also,
shift. There is a
yeah.
real
No,
shift from
yes.
power from the
Yeah.
west to
Yeah.
the east as well, which we're
Yeah.
seeing,
Yes.
politically. And that's
Yeah.
going to continue.
Yeah.
That's probably outside of the scope of this podcast, but yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and also just one thing come to my mind as well, like when because I think I said to you before I shared like in China, especially in my hometown, so like the electric car is like pretty much taking 50 more percentage, right? And then that helped enormously about the air pollution in a lot of cities. And so that's why I feel like the fuel price thing is actually not really hitting China that hard because most people driving electric car now. So I think that's a side story. But
Well, I
also
think
another
that's
thing,
going to become,
yeah,
I mean,
a trend. Yeah,
that's going
yeah,
to be a huge trend, especially when the sun moves into Taurus, and at the same time Uranus moves into Gemini. Like from Taurus, it's going to be
yeah,
like from
yeah.
fuel, from like materialistic resources to
To
air,
renewable. Yeah,
to electric, to all things Gemini, Uranus.
yeah,
It's very electric car, isn't it? So yeah, we're seeing that
yeah,
shift, which is good.
yeah. And also another thing I just see another transit as well. Do you see like the Mercury is also trying with Jupiter as well? Is that right?
Yes.
Is that
Yeah.
14 degrees? Yeah.
It is, and I was going to talk about Mars as well because the Sun, obviously. Oh, sorry, not Mars. Yeah, no, continue with that.
Yeah. So I was thinking like this is really interesting because I think in the beginning we're talking about Mercury, right? So I feel like yes, there's a tension between, for example, the Jupiter squaring like the Moon and also the Sun, right, at the same time, pretty much. So it's kind of like a mediator, but there's a tension, right, in between Sun and Moon. And then the Mercury is kind of like actually is asking us to actually speaking our truth compassionately And so we actually can reaching the middle ground, because yes, we do need move. For example, the fuel prices is up, right, as our personal need, and like there's some being affected, but also there's a need for the collective. And how can we communicate that in a more compassionate way so we are able to reach the middle ground rather than just about self or just sacrificing ourselves? You know what I mean? So I feel like this is like a finding that middle ground and to communicate our emotions, our need, more compassionate, and then so we can understand what's really going on in like as an individual and as collective as well. So yeah, I
and
think
I
that's
think
what
that's such a great pick up as well, because when you're looking at these really tense kind of, like this T square here, the best way to see how to resolve the tension is to look at any more easy aspects. So obviously the trine from Jupiter to Mercury, that creates a little bit of ease, and that is how you can take some of the pressure off that T square. It's what we look at in natal charts as well. If there's a lot of pressure in a natal chart, you can look at the easier or the softer aspects. So yeah, that's a really good pickup. The moon, just to finish, because I'm aware of time, but the moon in Libra, Venus is already in Taurus. So that's the ruler of the moon, which is interesting that Venus has just moved into Taurus, which I think again could indicate that kind of reflection of that we're going to be talking about our resources very much so.
Yeah.
Money, fuel, all the materialistic resources, all the tourist aspects, the earth as well, which again, has just been put on the back burner. The climate, the earth, what we're doing to the planet and all of this. So I think those conversations are going to be really, and there's a trine to the south node there as well. So yeah, and the sextile to the north node in that Venus. So really pointing towards, that kind of our collective karma in some respects.
Yes. Yeah. All right. Yes. So shall we get back to the middle? I think we're in the most important thing we're going to talking about today.
Yeah, we are.
Do you want to start?
We'll see.
Yeah.
So I'll just grab this other chart. So we're talking about the Aries stellium now. Here we go.
We're actually starting that from Mars conjunct Neptune, isn't it? On the 13th of April?
Yeah, I haven't got it. I've just got it kind of in the middle there. So it starts on the 15th. Actually, let's just animate that. Oops.
Yeah, because I think I have like a list here. So it's basically in general. So in April 9th and or 10th, like depends on where you are. And Mars entering Aries. I think that's probably starting, but not still. I think that's the starting point of the stellium, right? And then Mars starting to conjunct Neptune and Saturn, and also, of course, Mercury starting to conjunct Mars and Saturn as well. So I think that's kind of like starting for the stellium. And I think the most important date will be in between 15th, 16th.
Yeah. So I've just got the 16th there because that's when the moon is moving into Aries as well. So yes, obviously Mars will
enter Aries first.
Yeah, Mars and hitting, like you said, Mercury, Neptune, and then the moon, and then Saturn, and then the moon will come in as well. So over those 2 days we have, and I haven't put the asteroids in here, but I mean Eris is in Aries as well. But we were going to have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 planets in Aries.
Yeah.
Which is intense.
And also including Chiron as well.
Chiron, sorry, yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, it's been intense.
So things are going to move really quickly. There's a lot to do. The momentum is going to be really strong. It's high intensity, high output. This is where I'm like, great for getting things done, but yeah, really prioritize what you want to get
done. And also I'll notice as well, like we can just focus on the 16th because I think it's happening during like in the middle of the April, so it doesn't really matter. I feel like you can sense the energy already. So basically we're focusing on the chart we're looking at right now and just describing like, because I think also because there's so many conjunction happening in the same time, right? So when two planets is conjuncting, which means really starting a new cycle, right? and in different way. For example, Saturn and Mars conjunction, that's starting a new cycle itself, and like Mercury like conjunct Saturn as well. So like there's a lot conjunction in here. So starting a new cycle. So basically, it's a big beginning, right? It's not just like a tiny little new moon beginning. It's a massive beginning here. And also because I was seeing, because the Mars, right? The Mars is the ruler of Aries, right?
Yeah.
And it's really, really active as well. So I feel like that's adding on more movement, action, fire in whatever you're going through, right? So that's something like when people listening to this podcast, really looking at where is Aries in your chart, which house is located in, that indicate what movement is most potent, or even sometimes can be too overwhelmed in that areas of life. And then so you are prepared to pace yourself in that area of your life, right? And for example, me and Sandra, the Aries is in our 10th house. I think I can feel it. I'm sure you feel it too. It's literally all the focus and energy is how we presenting ourselves and how we like serving, for example, our career, like our reputation, all that kind of stuff is literally there. So even though I haven't, like, I'm not sure how you deal with this energy. I feel like I'm still in Pisces hangover just yet. I'm a little behind. But yeah, I can still feel the movement is coming. But I just really be mindful for myself. Like this massive thing going on in April, I have to really be mindful my action. And I think you also said in your post in before, it's like really it's the aligned action is really important to remind yourself, and you don't need taking action to for every single thing because it's massive energy literally pushing you through you at different things, right? Yeah, so I think that's just one thing. Like the Mars is really active in this like the Stellium in Aries, and yeah. So what are you taking on it?
Yeah, I agree with all that you say. I think it's going to be a very quick, dynamic, it'll start quickly and it will end quickly. I hope on a world front that means the end to conflict in some respects. That's probably just my Sagittarian hopefulness.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's going to be a very interesting window of time. That's the time I'm planning to go away.
Okay. Yeah.
So yeah, I think as I said, I think physical burnout will be a big one.
Yeah.
For individuals, just yeah, like you said, pacing, just trying to. Yeah, I mean, we have got a little bit of help with Venus already in Taurus, and it's sextiling Jupiter, so there is some grounding there, I think. But there's not much else. Lilith is there at 13 degrees. That's right on my moon in Sagittarius.
Okay. Yeah.
So yeah, a lot of fire happening, and I think again Lilith representing the feminine, the dark side of the feminine as well. That'll be very interesting. I wonder whether in the world like the Epstein files will come back up because they've completely disappeared off the scene.
Yeah, because of the war. Yeah.
So it will be really interesting to see on a world scale what happens there. But individually, especially if you have Aries planets in the first 10 degrees or any cardinal planets, Capricorn, Libra, and Cancer in the first 10 degrees, take some
care.
time. Take some time. I'm slightly terrified. No, it's fine.
It's swearing us. Yeah, I have like
It's
1 degree
stirring us
Cancer.
on, definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely.
And also,
I
I want
think
to ask you.
not being too cautious again, it's that real balance of not burning out, but also not being scared to use that energy
Yeah.
push forward.
Yeah, it is like the energy of getting things done for sure.
Yeah,
There's no
get
better time
stuff
of this.
done.
Yeah.
Get stuff done. It's
Yeah. Yeah, one question I want to ask. I think I want to listen to your take on it as well, because I noticed in 16th of April, you might be 17th in other place, I don't know. 16th, 17th, like there's triple conjunction, right? So you can see the Mercury is conjunct 2 degree exactly with Neptune, right? At the same time, Sun conjunct Chiron 26 degree in Aries. That's like an exact conjunction at the same time. Yeah, so that's one thing. And also there's like a slight conjunction with I think is Saturn and Mars, isn't it? 2 degrees separate. Like a 7 degree is Saturn and 5 degree is Mars.
Yeah, here we go. I've got it up now. The 17th, yeah.
Yeah, so I think that's actually quite important. Like we can talking it separately because I do feel like the Saturn conjunct Chiron is a massive thing because Chiron is the wind healer and
You
our
mean
sun.
Sun conjunct Chiron?
Yeah, sun conjunct Chiron.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
so
that's right before the new moon. So maybe should we get the chart for the new moon, and talk about that because that is that day. That's the day before the new moon, or the couple of days before the new moon. I'll just get the new moon chart up. But yes,
sometimes I feel like I'm when I'm looking at chart, I feel like I'm like audience looking at drama. Like, oh, this is a
yeah,
triple conjunction happening.
new moon, full moon. No, new moon.
Yeah, 17th new moon, right? New moon in Aries. Yeah, I think so.
There we go. Just having some Mercury retrograde hangovers. There we go. Can you see that? That's the new moon chart, 17th of April. So yeah, you can see here Mercury the day before conjunct Neptune that Fairy was talking about, and Aries. And then we've got quite a powerhouse here.
Yeah,
Chiron, Moon, and
moon, sun conjunction in Chiron. Yeah,
conjunction. Yeah, and
yeah,
also Mars pretty much conjunct Saturn. So Mars will conjunct Saturn in the next few days.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so that
Yeah.
new
So that's why I
beginning.
feel like,
I mean, I think this is kind of the new year, new beginning. It is still in those end degrees of Aries. It's conjunct Chiron, which is the wounded healer. So I think this initiation, isn't separate from healing.
yes, yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, it's a real
Yeah.
initiation, and it will bring up wounds, but
The healing
also
the masculine, massive thing
yes,
here. And I
yeah,
was looking at, oh my God, the new moon and also conjunct Chiron
yeah,
and literally in Aries season and also having all the triple conjunction all in Aries. I feel like it's a massive theme talking about how wounded masculine we are experiencing right now. Like the global space and
yeah,
even like individual, like the family dynamic. And sometimes it's not because like we accusing men or patriarchy or whatever it is. It's just like literally because with our evolution in humanity, wounded feminine, masculine has been show up in so many different ways, and we kind of like just ignored it,
yeah,
or we just like allowed it. We just saying, hey, it's okay. And then now it's like massive new beginning of the healing thing of the healing the wounded masculine. And yeah, I think that's when I'm looking at it, I was like, okay, this is actually really, really potent
yeah,
new. It's not
100%.
just like, yeah,
And then that Mars, so the ruler of the new moon,
yeah,
Mars is conjunct Saturn. So again, that restriction, it's the same feeling, that energy wanting to move forward
accountability.
but feeling restricted. Which I mean,
Yeah,
I think the wounded masculine has very much felt, that restriction and that limitation. But it's again that still forming that sextile to
yeah,
Pluto.
yeah,
So I hope a real opportunity to start to heal
yeah,
some of that wounded masculine energy, collectively, but also within ourselves. I mean, I think the Aries energy is a real potent reflection of the masculine energy. And how do we do that in a positive way? How do we move forward? How do we initiate? How do we do that? How do we express ourselves honestly, even when it feels vulnerable? And I think, allowing the masculine to feel vulnerable. What does healing look like in action?
yes, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And also another thing, like when you're talking about, we're talking about the new moon conjunct Chiron, right? And then the Saturn conjunct Mars. Like when I'm looking at Saturn conjunct Mars, I feel like it's teaching the wooden masculine, like your action, your words actually will causing harm, and how you taking the accountability of what you have done, right? So I think sometimes the healing is not about, for example, to kind of like blaming who's right, who's wrong. It's like when we do something, when we say something, it definitely having some effect on other people, and how you actually taking the responsibility, accountability. Maybe you're not intent to hurt someone or to say something nasty, whatever it is, right? But I think Saturn is here really teaching the masculine, saying the healing here is actually growing up and taking the accountability of what you have done.
Yeah.
So I think that's kind of like the energy here. Yes, like you said, Mars is really like want to go, want to protect, want to fight. But there's are consequences when you do certain behavior, isn't it? I think that's what wasn't being taught in our like the patriarchy society right now, because you're basically protecting the predator, right? So the victim doesn't have a say, or it kind of like just rush it under the rug or something like that. So I feel like the Saturn and conjunct Mars is basically what is the accountability? There's a consequences when you having certain behavior. You cannot just put it under the rug, and you cannot just be protected anymore, you know? So I think that's kind of like the thing as well. And also the Neptune conjunct Mercury for me is also really kind of like revealing what is deception, like communicating it and thinking about it. I think it's in a global level, it's kind of like now people are talking about it. It's not just, okay, it's a taboo, we cannot talk about it because it's the predator is being protected. But now it's like we can openly talking about it. Sometimes can feel overwhelmed, but when we don't talk about it, there's no improvement. There's no resolution of what's been really going on. We have to acknowledging it first, not to blame, but to resolve. Right?
Yeah, really well said.
Yes.
Yeah, really
Yes.
well said. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that's the triple conjunction I am feeling like. I feel like it's really healing new moon for the masculine, especially the wounded masculine. But I think sometimes just like, even like you said, like the masculine is not just in a male body, it's if within all of us, and how we conditioned and how we like really even contributing to allow the predator to exist as well, you know, like not really to step into that accountable masculine saying, hey, I do what I do, I keep my words, I taking action, I taking responsibility of what I have done, you know, taking the ownership of what it is, right? Because sometimes we unconsciously may, because we're all going through, you know, the traumatic experiences, we may be nasty or snappy at people, whatever it is. We do causing some sort of like emotional damage in other people's life as well. So how can we, even though facing that guilt, shame of what we have done, but taking ownership of it and taking accountability of it, you know? So I think that's kind of like I'm not saying a download. I just, when I'm looking at the triple conjunction, I just feel like we all need to facing up our own masculine shadow in so many different ways, so we can rise as a collective and to help like the unhealed masculine in ourselves, and to be a balanced masculine and feminine and an yin and yang in the world, because all about is the balance, you know? Yeah.
No, that's very well said. Yeah. That new moon is exactly on my Venus.
Okay. Yeah. Exactly on your Venus.
Exactly.
Conjunct with your Venus.
7 degrees Aries. Yeah. So that'll be
Okay. What are you taking on that?
I don't know. I'm terrible at interpreting my own chart. And I
Well,
think a lot of astrologers...
Imagine that's my chart. Then
I don't
you
know.
can talk.
Yeah, I'm very good at doing it for other people. I
Yeah.
don't know. I think that's maybe my 12th house sun. Not so very good doing it for myself.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
yeah,
Is that
I go to an astrologer when I have, and to talk about my own chart. Because I need that reflection. I'm not good at, I mean, in hindsight, it's always, you know, okay, yeah, that kind of makes sense. But often I need to go to someone else for it to really land, which is interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's the same thing for everybody pretty much, because sometimes when you do your own stuff, you're having your own projection and emotions towards it. And sometimes our ego want to hear what we really want to hear. I think having someone to, for example, like doing this objectively, like I think that's probably the reason why we need a coach in so many different areas, because they can point in your blind spot saying, hey, Like, okay, because sometimes we do have that ego or emotional entanglement into the situation. You couldn't see it clearly. But when people are not in the situation, they actually can help you to see the big picture. I think that's really valid as well. But sometimes I do like to interpreting our own chart. But I just like give myself different scenario and see what happens.
Yeah, well, I'll let you know in the next podcast. And so the next podcast, I feel like how do you feel? We've gone through this relatively quickly, like with that Aries energy, but I feel like we've covered most of it. So
Yeah.
the next podcast, I will let you know about my Venus being hit by
Yeah,
that.
Venus conjunct that Chiron.
And yeah, my Lilith, sorry, the Lilith on my moon.
Yeah. Oh,
And
sorry.
then
I
we
just
will we will talk about next podcast about the sun moving into Taurus and how it's not a typical Taurus season either, because as the sun moves into Taurus a few days later,
yeah.
Uranus moves
Yeah.
from Taurus into Gemini, and so I think those days between the sun moving into Taurus and Uranus moving out of Taurus are going to be really interesting.
Yeah, yeah,
Probably
yeah.
quite.
Because I think that's in the end of the April, right? Like 24th.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, 24th
yeah.
to 26th. Because I remember there's like Venus conjunct Uranus in Taurus, and then they're moving
The
together.
ruler of Taurus, Venus, is
Yeah,
conjunct, and then she moves into Gemini as well as Uranus
yeah,
moves into Gemini. So
yeah,
really interesting month next month as well. Join
yeah,
us for that.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and
All right.
do you have
And
anything
any
else you want to
takeaway
do
for
before we
this?
wrap up?
Sorry, yeah, yeah, we can wrap up now. And I think there's massive like information for the. I think we can talk about next time about the Uranus and the Gemini and all the thing going into that. I think that's really interesting, electrical, shocking, unpredictable as well. Yeah, but like that's just wrapping up for like what is your takeaway for this month for the Aries season, the Stellium? What are you gonna deal with it?
Taking it step by step. And for
Yeah,
me, definitely what I've learned in my Pisces season, which was to slow down. Otherwise,
yeah,
life will slow it down for me.
yeah,
For me personally, I have a high tendency to burn out because I have a lot of fire in my chart, a lot of
yeah,
air. So,
yeah,
yeah, just taking it step by step, but also using the energy to start to build momentum towards my goals, you know.
yeah, 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 yeah.
And it's, as you said, it's in my personal 10th house and 11th house. So I'm going to be focusing on my career, but also collective endeavors, working with others and starting to build some goals towards that.
Yeah, that's well said. I think pretty much the same. I just feel like the key words will be pace your speed and pace your energy as well. And like I said, like it's really good energy to getting things done because Aries is all about go, go, go.
Yeah.
Also, like prioritize. I think the priority is the most important thing. Like, yes, there's so many things going on. You want to build momentum, but what is your priority? And how utilizing the fast moving energy to achieving the priority instead of like trying to do all the thing at the same time. I think a more target like focus will be really best utilizing this energy. But also there's a lot healing in this month as well. Like I said, the new moon, pretty much a very healing
Yeah.
moon. And I feel like also sometimes, yes, we can achieving our goal, do external thing, but also we also need time to actually reflecting, come back to yourself. And like you said, the tendency to burn out is really high in this month. So just every now and then checking in with yourself. And it's even also sometimes like we can really caught up by that masculine, like the ego side of things and tap back to your feminine, like allowing to receiving and a rest. And not saying, hey, I have to be rested all the time, but it's just like having that even for example, 5 minutes in the morning or 5 minutes in the afternoon before bed checking in with yourself and how you're feeling. And that's enough. It doesn't need to be massive ritual,
Yeah.
whatever it is. Just like tiny little things can help you grounded and help you centered is the most important thing. Like really stay centered and focused of what are you doing. Otherwise it can be either or
Yeah.
I don't know how to describe it.
Yeah. 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 Cool.
Yeah.
Great. Thank
All
you
right.
so much, Fairy.
Yeah. Thank you. Right. I'll see you next time.
See you next
Yeah.
time. Thanks so much for joining us on Let's Blame the Planets. We'll be back next month with another deep dive into the sky and how it's showing up in our lives. If you want to keep up with what else we're offering, from astrology insights to workshops and more, check out our social handles in the description below. And don't forget to follow so you don't miss the next episode.